Okay, apparently we're reconnected. Is anybody still there? OBS appears to have lost connection and is now live again. I don't know what happened, but... Is anybody still out there? Space, the final frontier. Yeah, thanks. OBS lost connection. I don't know. That's the first time OBS has lost connection and the internet's been perfectly fine. So that's weird. But thanks for the welcome back. I'm sorry. That was bad. I don't know when it cut out either. Because I think I was just talking to nobody for a while. but I mean, what's new? Yeah. Still here. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't understand what happened, but yeah, OBS was just like reconnecting, and I was like, but what? So I don't know when exactly we cut off, but long story short, TLDR, Corral of the Void you can think of as two use cases. Number one, you're gonna try and get the maximum value out of it and hold on to it for a turn, an extra turn, by warping something in, or by forcing bad blocks, or by killing something in addition to playing it, or by hoping that they're trading, or by putting it on something small and hoping that the two creatures that you're attacking with other than it are big enough that they have to block those creatures and ignore the one that's, that's enchanted with Corral of the Void. So... there we go. Moving on to the next thing. Elegy Acolyte. 4 mana, 4/4 lifelink. That's already a good ROI. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. That is still fine. That is still good. Okay. So you're not really in danger of milling yourself out, right? Drawing through your entire deck, because it's 1 or more creatures dealing combat damage to a player. So you can attack him with 3 and draw 1 card and lose 1 life. This is still really, really good. And you can make up for that loss of life with its lifelink. We've seen that this combines really well, obviously, with 1 card that we've seen so far that really cares about lifelink. We've seen some incidental lifelink all along, but like the main thing is this card here. Draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn. That's pretty sweet with those. So a black-white deck running those 2 cards would be pretty happy, I think. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped, create a... Oh my god! That's sick! That's too many things! That's an A+ card. Wow, okay. So still dies again to bombard the common red 4 damage, but there's a lot of things that miss it, including the black -3/-0, and kill it if it goes below 0 power. And then a few of the other things require a little bit more work to kill it. So that's just a lot of freaking value. I like that card. I think that's an A+. That's fantastic. It's such good value for 4 mana. Okay. Entropic Battlecruiser, 4 mana, spacecraft. Whenever opponent discards a card, they lose 3 life. 3/10. So 3/10 Flying Death Touch. 8+. There aren't a lot of ways to make your opponent discard cards in this. We've seen one in black earlier. It was in unconditional, so not a duress. So that was at least a little bit better than normal, but I wasn't really happy to run it overall. It was... temporal intervention. So 2 less to cast if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So that's really the only discard effect that I've seen. This does trigger it itself once you get to the 8+, but again, I really still don't know how to value these spacecraft. I really don't know how easy it is to get to the 8+, or whether you should be just attacking with or blocking with those creatures already. 310 flying death touch is pretty strong because it means it's not going to die on the attack for the most part, and it is very hard to block and not just lose a creature. Whenever it attacks each opponent, so it enables it for self. Each opponent who can't lose is 3 life. Yeah, Virus Beetle as well. Virus Beetle as well, you're correct. Which is a reprint from Neo. Still good, but not as good without ninjutsu synergies. However, really good to sacrifice later when it's gotten its value. All right. I really don't know how to value this card. I'm going to go with B+. And again, or B. Yeah, I'm gonna go with B. I just don't know how to value these things. Okay, I'm gonna do a revised look at the spacecraft once we get the early access going tomorrow. Technically today. Requiem Monolith, 3 mana until end of turn. Target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it. Activate only as a sorcery. Excuse me? Oh, I see. Okay, I get it now. I get it. It took me a second. I am very tired. All right. So, there are multiple use cases that I can see for it. There's the obvious one, which is have a 2/2 artifact in play. Target it with this, deal 1 damage to it, draw a card, lose 1 life. There's the other obvious use case of it, wherein you have a 4/4 attacking. You have a 4/4 that can attack that turn, meaning it's not summoning sick. As a sorcery speed thing in your first main phase, you target it with this and attack such that if they block that 4/4 with 2 2/2s or a 3/3 and a 2/2, you're drawing 4 or 5 cards. You're taking 4 or 5 damage as well. You have to worry about pump in that case because you might just kill yourself, but that's another use case that's fairly obvious. What I'm actually interested in is another use case which makes the Virus Beetle better. One of the things that this can do is target your 1 toughness creatures to trigger Void. So you have your Virus Beetle in play, right? And you want to cast a Void spell. You target it with the Requiem Monolith. It dies. You lose a life. You draw a card. Void is now active, because a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn. So this is a way to trigger Void without warping. And without having to attack and having something die at that point. So there's a lot of use cases I can see for this card. It is a slight risk. There's a slight risk here, which is that when you're low on life, right? If you have to be very careful that your opponent's tapped out when you do this. Because if they can then target that thing with a bombard, right? To deal 4 damage to it, right? It's gonna take the 4 damage. It doesn't take just what its toughness is, right? It's gonna take the 4 damage. And you might not be able to take 4 life, right? Or it would be 5 because this would also, well, you could may deal X damage to it, right? But yeah, so like, you have to be a little bit careful, but I think overall it's just value, and I kind of like it a lot. I think I'm going to give it tentatively on the threshold of A and B plus. I'm not sure which at all right now. I want to label it A. It's not an A plus, but it might be a B plus just because it's a little risky. And it requires another thing to, you have to have another creature that's an appropriate creature to target and so on and so forth. But it's very good early game. It might be okay late game too, just to do that 1 damage, but I'd be worried about it's very risky against red. I mean, the main thing is it's very risky against red. It's much less risky against any of the other colors, except maybe for green. You're just not going to be attacking into the things because they'll just do so much damage. You'll kill yourself. But yeah, I think I'm going to give it tentatively a B plus / A. I just don't even know which to rate it there, so that's fine. All right, Sothera the Super Void. Dominic Meyer, yes. Okay. 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature that... Oh, this one. I saw this. This one did do the rounds on the socials. Okay. So this is an interesting one. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. So it's a Grave Pact, but with exile instead of destroy. Here's Grave Pact. So whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. But that means those creatures die. They do not get exiled like this one does. Makes them do... Hold on, Floof. Oh, God. No, they're very insistent. Okay, so at the beginning of your end step, if a player, you or opponents, any opponent, controls no creatures, sacrifice Sothera, then put a creature card exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. So this isn't so basically this isn't always something that people will play creatures into. Basically, it's going to be a really difficult card to navigate for your opponent, because as long as you have creatures out there that could be dying or that could be sacrificed to the Bone Shards effects or things like that, they're going to be losing creatures. They're going to be exiling creatures. They choose them, but they're going to be exiling them. They're not going to get any dying effects. They're not going to get all that stuff. So they may not play creatures in order to have no creatures, right, in play, so that you have to sacrifice this and get a creature card. Then they may play out all their creatures, right? But hopefully this will be valuable to you, because you still get to choose, right, the creature card exiled with it, put it into the battlefield, and make it bigger, better, faster, stronger. It's a very powerful card. All Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos, these are all sorts of things that are very, very powerful and limited. These effects are extremely powerful and limited, especially if you can sacrifice your own creature, right? So to get them at a certain time. The fact that this sticks around is important, though. The fact that it keeps going is important. Getting a creature back, if the things that they were sacrificing are not that great, and they then choose to stop playing creatures, and you aren't able to put enough pressure to force them to put creatures onto the battlefield, right? Then you're just going to get one of them with 2 additional +1/+1 counters. In theory, that should be enough advantage. It should be. There are just a few cases in which it's going to be a little bit difficult to... it's going to be really difficult for opponent to navigate it, but it's definitely going to be difficult for you in some cases to get the maximum value out of it, because you're going to have to navigate the game such that you put enough pressure, but also, punish them for choosing weaker creatures to exile and so on and so on, and keeping the bigger creatures and doing all the things. So it's going to be an interesting card, and I'm going to hate playing against it with Fiery Passion. I do think this is an A+ card. I think it is very powerful. It remains to be seen whether it is as powerful as just keeping this on the board and having a lot of creatures dying and then just making sure that they have no creatures on the board, right? And not having to sacrifice it. I'm not sure. I do think the exile effect is important because there are reanimation effects. We've seen some of them, especially in... so we've seen the ones that, return early things in white. We've seen the green-black here. The Siege Ship that brings back for 5. We've seen a couple things that bring back to hand. And we've seen in white, obviously the big angel that we just saw that brings back up to a 5-drop. So the fact that this denies them graveyard recursion, whereas this didn't, is a point in its favor. It's 1 mana cheaper than the Dictate and the Grave Pact. So yeah, it's also not a surprise. This one's not a surprise. Dictate is a surprise because it needed to be, apparently. This actually, the Grave Pact is 1. The Grave Pact is 4, right? But it's just 3 black, right? Yeah. 3 black. It's cheaper, but it's a heavier commitment to black than the Dictate. So this card, I think I'm going to rate it as an A+, and I really don't want to play against it. So let's move on from that. Sunset Saboteur. 2 mana, 4/1 menace ward, discard a card. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1 counter target creature an opponent controls. What? Is that good enough at that cost? I mean, if you have a butt ton of removal, I think it's good. But it dies to, like, everything. And it's really not hard for opponents. There's so many cheap spells in this. It's really hard to get ahead fast. So, for example, if we just go into the commons and uncommons, and we go into, like, green, you have the Might, you have the, where'd it go? Where's my favorite baby? Oh yeah, Gene Pollinator. 2/3 on 2, right? Like, you have so many things that are like 1 mana 2/2. Like, you have so many things that are coming down early that it's a lot harder to get in around these things. You have like a 1 mana here because this set is prioritizing double spelling. It has a lot of cheap creatures. So the idea that you're going to be getting in that much with this card, it seems a little bit weird to me. Additionally, it has like the +1/+1 counter on target creature and opponent controls. If you have a million pieces of removal, I see that this could go, but like, I don't know how to rank this. Like, the +1 counter on target creature and opponent controls is a huge cost in this because the +1/+1 counters matter so much. There are a lot of cards where +1/+1 matters. But I think if you play this on... If you're on the play, you play this on 2, you attack on 3. Let's say they have 2 creatures out. You kill 1. You still get in for 4, but that other one gets bigger. You play another one. They play another one on 4. Or sorry, 3. And then you can't trade with both of them necessarily, right? Because that's 5 power, potentially. And 5 toughness. You'd need another removal. I don't know. I do think there are some games where your opponent's going to stumble and they're not going to have early drops, and this is going to be horrid. But I like to face, it's going to be so sick, right? So maybe this is epically good and I'm not sure about it, but right now I just want to rate it as a B+ or A. Like, I think it's a perfectly fine, good card. I just think that it could cost a lot. And if you get this late game, it's horrid. is bad and hard for you, not for them. So I don't know. This one I think is B plus. I think it's fine. All right. Shu Ifit. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Osteoharmonist. 3 mana, 2/3. Human wizard. Body horror up the wazoo. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. What? That's dumb. Okay, so I just get my 4/1 back. Is it just a 4/1 and I for free? Has no other abilities, but is a 4/1 for free? It's not a token. So it can die again. It's not exiled from the graveyard. It just... Why is this just rare? Somebody tell me why this is just rare. Help. This card is so stupid. It has to be answered right away. Almost every piece of removal removes it, but it needs to be answered right away. It cannot be allowed to untap. This is stupid. What am I missing? Is there some sort of drawback that I'm missing here? Like, yeah, it's a 3 mana 2/3. Okay, but is there something that I'm not seeing? No, I saw the N has no abilities. I don't give a crap about that. I'm getting a free 4/1 back. Like, if I have this in the grave, I don't care. It's literally free reanimate. I don't care about the abilities at that point. It's free value. Like, what? Like, great, I get a 5/5 back. Like, what? Okay, anyway. I think, I think I'm gonna put this in as an S tier. I mean, it is really easy to remove with any of the removal, but you have to have that removal and you have to have it right away. This is such a bomb unlimited. Okay, anyway. Moving on, oh, gross. How is that rare? Anyway, sorry, I don't want that in my limited format. I really don't want that. That's just, no. All right, 0 point ballad. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. What do you mean it's triple black? It's not, it's double black. It's not triple black. What are you looking at? Oh, anyway. Okay. 0 point ballad. Okay, so this is a, you know, a wrath effect that scales, obviously. So if you have big creatures and your opponent has small creatures, that's great for you. You get to destroy all creature with toughness X or less and just keep all your creatures. If you're destroying all the creatures on the board, in theory, you get one of yours back if X is 6 or more. So for 7 mana, you get one of your creatures back. So it's very similar in principle to Blood on the Snow, where you got to destroy all creatures and then return something based on the number of snow mana I spent to cast it. Hi, Incomparable Toast. How you doing? So if you can pay for the right amount for it, it's really, really good. Especially at 7 mana. You will lose 6 life, so that's worth understanding. I think that this is at its best use case in limited, just to destroy early things so that you then get there from after that. If your opponent got off to a too crazy start, you can then you know, rebuild from what you need to do. So again, in best of 1, a lot of the times you can just fall too far behind too quickly, and this would be a way to stop that. But again, we've seen the lifelink. There's a few lifelinkers in black that we've seen now. The 4/4, which is crazy, is a rare, and then the 2/3 Deuter guy. Not that many, but to offset this, it could be a little bit. But I think I like it best in a controlling shell. I don't like it. I don't really like it as the max, actually. 6 life is a lot to lose and not be ahead. But if it does board wipe everything, you get 1 back and you're still at 1. Hopefully, like, they don't have a burn spell. I think this one's gonna be an A, but it could be a B+. I don't think it's good as the normal, the Exile Wrath and the white, because it's so situational, but it is versatile in terms of, like, you can scale it. And again, you can get value if you can afford to pay the 6. Plus the 1, so 7 total. It's gonna be interesting. Devastating Onslaught. Create X tokens that are copies of target artifact or creature you control. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So double X and 1. Well, that's gross. That's going to end so many games. So you have to have a creature on the board for this to be good, but you just have to have 1. And a lot of mana. And green-red does ramp really well. And the lander tokens are pretty good overall for ramping. If you have anything of value, even something small, this can pretty much end the game. Because they gain haste. You can also use them to make a station, to power a station if you can't go wide on the ground, but can go in the air. But the fact that they're copies of target artifact or creature you control and you get all the ETBs for that is pretty crazy. So you would be scaling... Oh god, that's gross. Okay. I'm gonna say that this is probably... For this format... This is probably an S tier. That's close. I'm just trying to go through in my head all the commons and uncommons that you can target with this that really make sure to probably end the game. And there are quite a few. It depends on how fast the format is. That's number 1, right? It depends on how fast the format is. Anything with double X in it is going to depend on the speed of the format. If it's a slower format, this card is going to be S tier. If it's less slow, it'll probably still be A+. I think this is a fantastic card. But again, you know, we'll see if it actually is like as nutty as I think it is. So I think this is the first one that I'm pretty. It is very close to S if it's not S at all. Yeah. I'm gonna call it S for now. Could be wrong. Memorial Vault, 4 mana, sacrifice another artifact, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is 1 plus the mana value of the sacrificed artifact. You can play those cards this turn. So you can sacrifice an artifact token and exile the top 1 card of your library and then play that card this turn. That's good for triggering Void. It's good for drawing you further into your deck and doing more things. The fact that it costs 4 mana is and doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play, because you're most likely not casting another spell at that point, is a little bit sketch. I think I'm going to give it a B or B+. It's a good card to enable Void. It's a good card to enable the black synergies that we've seen that drain opponents when you lose artifact creatures. Where was that? Yeah, whenever this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this combos really well with that. But I think it's like at the 4 mana slot, I'm doing nothing on that turn except maybe sacrificing an artifact and picking 1. I think like you can exile, maybe get a land. I'm gonna go with B or B+, but probably B. Nova Hellkite, 5 mana, 4/5 flying haste. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Okay. Warp for 3 with flying haste, and then you can play it again in 5. Well, that's stupid. And it deals 1 damage to target creature, and there's a lot of things with 1 toughness. Thanks, I hate it. Okay, I'm gonna give this an A+. What do you mean, why is this rare? This card is stupid. For 3 mana, you get a 4/5 flying haste that deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. And then later on at 5 mana, you get the same thing. Like, what are you talking about, roast beef? This is nutty. What do you... Like, this didn't even have haste at 4 mana. It even had echo. Like, this is a long time ago, admittedly, but like, this is gross. It has a supernova for an eyeball. That is freaking epic. The artwork is stunning. Yeah, a 4/5 flying haste is good enough at 3. Stream reviews are dissuading you? Oh no, I'm sorry. Wait, MTG Online or Arena? There's 2 clients for playing Magic on online. One of them is called MTGO. That's the Magic Online. That's the original client that kind of looks old, and it is very old. This is the one that we play most frequently here is Arena, which is prettier. Yeah. Final Fantasy VII is going to be playable for only a little while more because Edge of Eternities is coming out very soon. That's why we're doing this limited set review. But you can play Final Fantasy for now, for the next few days at the very least, on Arena. But Steam reviews are telling you you shouldn't play it, though. What do the Steam reviews say? The only upside seems to be the warp. Yeah, but the warp's everything. The warp is crazy. I'm gonna give this an A+. This is a very good card. Yeah, you can play with the cards from Final Fantasy, the set, for very much longer. If you want to play it in limited, sorry, if you want to play like draft and sealed and get used to the cards, and like play the jump start, that won't be around for too much longer. You can always play with the Final Fantasy cards you get in like different formats, standard and all the constructed formats, etc. Pain for all, 3 mana, enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. Whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. That's pretty cool. That is a good enchantment. Again, with auras, you have to be very careful. You want to make your opponent to be tapped out, ideally, so they can't 2-for-1 you when you target a creature. But this is pretty fun. Casual is more fun while ranked isn't fun. It depends. It really depends. Casual is very fun, definitely. But yeah. So this is when it enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. So that's like a Soul's Fire. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any target, right? At instant speed. That's what Soul's Fire did. And then at the same time, it also gives, when a enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. We've had something similar to that. Usually it's not each opponent. Usually it is something like Boros Reckoner, which does damage to any target, right? This one, if they did that, that would be too good. This one, deals that much damage to each opponent, which is nice. So the opponent has to worry about attacking you if their life total is low. And also you'll get some value out of that in addition to dealing damage to this power to any other target. I like this card. I think it's an A. I like this. It's not an A+, but it is an A. It's pretty sweet. Possibility Technician, 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever this creature or another Kavu you control enters, exile the top card of your library for as long as that card remains exiled. Hello, cat. You may play it if you control a Kavu. Well, that's cool. It's a Kavu Lord. And Warp 2. I'm going to give this a... you kind of build around it a little bit, but it does get value. So I'm going to say this one is a B/B+. Serviceable, just not super exciting as a first picker. Rust Harvester, 1 mana, 1/1 menace robot. So it's an artifact, which is nice. 2 tap, exile an artifact from your... Hi, cat. He's very... I love you too, but you're very insistent on like being the focus of attention right now. Yes, that's the microphone. Yes, he says hi. All right. Yeah, I think that one of the better ways to get into Arena is, I mean, first, obviously, you do the color challenges that Sparky's going to guide you through in order to learn the game, and then you're going to go into jump in to amass some cards and play some games that have nothing riding on them, so you don't really care about doing anything but having fun. So, Rust Harvester, 1 mana, 1/1 menace. 2 and tap, exile an artifact card from your graveyard, put a +1 counter on this creature, then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Interesting. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Hello, Sweet Pea. He's just being adorable over here. And distracting. So the artifact cards that go to, like, a lot of the sacrificing that you're doing with the artifacts is going to be lantern tokens, things that disappear from your graveyard when they hit it. But there are a lot of artifacts that you're going to be trading with and a lot of actual artifact cards. So this can do some work, definitely. I'm going to go with a B+ on this one. It's a fine card. It's a good 1-drop. and it can get an absolute ton of value if it is allowed to live for any length of time, such that you then make trades and sacrifices and have stuff to exile from the graveyard with it. So it just, again, you can easily deal with it over time if you get any of the removal spells, but it does draw removal for a 1 mana investment, although that investment is more over time with the 2 mana that you feed into it, and exiling the stuff from the graveyard. You want to make sure that you don't counteract it. Like, it's not meant to go in a reanimate deck because you'll be exiling things you don't necessarily want to have, you might want access to, creatures that you might want access to. So you have to be a little careful about that, but otherwise really good. So I'm gonna go, yeah, I think, it's strong, but it's not A plus strong. I think it's between a B plus and A. I like it, but I think it might be a B plus. All right, Tanuk, Steadfast Second. This card is dumb. This one did make the socials. So this is a 4 mana 3/5. Other creatures you control have haste. That's already a good thing for red. But it says artifact cards and red creatures cards in your hand have warp 3. This is stupid. This is an A plus card. Moving along. Terminal Velocity, 6 mana. You may put an artifact or creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That permanent gains haste. When this permanent leaves the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its mana value to each creature. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this permanent. Fascinating. At 6 mana, you aren't necessarily holding on to anything really large in your hand. You might have something, but you might not. I think one of the better combinations I've seen from this right now is the uncommon. Wait, my mouse isn't working. Okay, hold on. My mouse is doing weird stuff. Logitech G Hub has apparently set the dots per inch to something atrociously small. Okay, there we go. I really hate when G Hub does that. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so now we're back to the... Okay, so the combination that I could see with this was the Bygone Colossus. If you really want to wipe the board, what you can do is, if you have Terminal Velocity and you have this in hand for some reason and haven't warped it out, right? Which you should have probably earlier. Then you can put that into play, give it haste. Maybe it eats a creature, but when it leaves the battlefield, it's going to deal 9 damage to each creature and hopefully wipe the entire board. And then sacrifice it at the end of turn and wipe the entire board. I don't know. I mean, it's a board wipe, basically. This is meant to be a board wipe. You're probably going to put something in that does 4 or 5 damage into, like, you ideally get this card and then plan around it. You don't just want to, like, randomly draw this card as, like, your one card for the turn, right? You don't want to top deck this card. That's awful. So you definitely want to plan around this card. That's the ideal circumstances, is you get the okay, good luck, Sephiroth fan. You get the value of putting a 4 or 5 drop into play and then wiping the board is the main thing, I think, for this. It's a more conditional spell. I think it's a B plus or B. I think there's times when it's going to be really good to wipe the board. And there are times when it's not going to be. Normally this type of effect, where the creature deals damage, we usually get something that does damage to the players too. So, like, Like deals damage use power to each other creature and each opponent, something like that, right? For 6 mana, I kind of expect the same. I haven't seen any warps at instant speeds. I believe that they follow timing restrictions, and I haven't seen any warps that warp at instant. This one does give your creatures haste, so they warp in and then they can attack if they want. But yeah, so I'm not really a fan of this one. I think too much things have to go right for it to be thing, and then you're wiping the board anyway, and usually, I think probably what's going to happen is you're going to base 6 mana to wipe the small things off the board, because red usually has the bigger things along with green usually. But I'm not absolutely certain, and I just don't know what the use case that's really good for this is. I think it's probably a B or C plus, or even less for me. Anyway. Warmaker Gunship, 3 mana 4/3 flyer for 6. When it enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts controlled target creature. That's good. That's a great card. That's fantastic. That's a good card. I like that one I like that one at A/B plus. I think it's probably B plus. But it could graduate to an A. Like, this is a nice effect. We have a lot of artifacts in this set. And it is to target creature an opponent controls. Hopefully we get, at least 2 or 3 damage from that for a 3 mana spell is not awful. That can then turn into a flyer later. I think I'm going B plus, but again, that's because I don't know how to value spacecraft anymore. Yes, sorry, I should say yet, not anymore. Weapons manufacturing, 2 mana. Whenever non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions with, when this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Okay, so this combines best with the black card that's a free sack outlet. It's 2 mana. This thing. This combines so well with this. So basically, whenever you play a non-token artifact, right? Whenever it enters the battlefield, you get this artifact token with, when it leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. So you just need sacrifice effects to do those 2 damage. So this is a perfect one. It's a free sacrifice. So you sacrifice those things, those artifacts, surveil 1 and do 2 damage to any target. That's kind of crazy as a combo there. You do need the sacrifice outlets. You absolutely need the sacrifice outlets, because otherwise it's not doing anything. They just sit there. So there are a couple more sacrifice outlets that we saw, including the Bone Splinters version of removal here, which is up here. Embrace Oblivion. Sacrifice an artifact or creature, destroy target creature or spacecraft. So this does give you fodder for that. I'm not sure how much I want to prioritize this, because again, more things have to go right. But it does give you a ton of sacrifice fodder. It's a build around. I like build arounds. I kind of usually put at the B or B plus level. I think this one's more of the B plus level. I think you can really do something with this, but you really do need the sack outlets. It does nothing on 2, which I think is a little dangerous in this format, it looks like. But yeah, I think that the value out later is pretty sweet if you can get those sack outlets. Maybe it's a B, because you just need a preponderance of sack outlets to run it. Not only do you have to be playing the non-token artifacts, but you also have to be getting those sacrifice outlets. Interesting. Yeah, maybe it's a B. Okay. Bioengineered Future. 3 mana. When this enchantment enters, create a lander token. Each creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each land that entered the battlefield under control this turn. That's pretty sweet. I like it. I'm gonna give it an A, just because so 3 mana, create a lander token is a fine thing there. But that automatically means that the next So on turn 4, you can play a 4-drop that gets a +1/+1 counter. Because assuming you played the 4th land, you can do that. You can get a +1/+1 counter. And then eventually you can crack the lander token to get a land and then play something else. Once you have enough mana to do that. I think I'm gonna give this an A. But it could be a B+. It's definitely not an A+. All right, Famished Worlds. It's another Leviathan, but it's green this time. Is that my first green Leviathan? No, wait, no, we used to have didn't we have, yeah, we had a blue, we had a Simic Leviathan too. Hold on. Let's look at advanced type Leviathan here. No, not that. Do they have a subtype? No, Koma's a serpent. Okay. There we go. Yeah, Simic Sky Swallower. That's what I was remembering. Flying Shroud, Trample, and then we have the 2 Sins from most recent stuff. But we already had one Simic dude earlier. I've never seen a mono green Leviathan before. My first one! So, Famished Worldsire, 8 mana, Ward 3, Devour Land 3. So when it enters, you look at the top X cards of your library. X is this creature's power. Put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So if you pay 8 mana, have it come into play, assuming you have 8 lands, if you sacrifice 3 lands, it becomes a 9/9, and you look at the top 9 cards of your library and put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. With Ward 3. And there are landfall triggers in this. It's also a nice way to thin your deck after you've played a giant card, so you don't flood out past this. You just make it a 24/24, but only has Ward 3. Like, it's not, like, unkillable by most of the... Like, it's unkillable by the red. But, like, red has no way of dealing with this card. Except to, like, yeah, I don't think red has any way of dealing with this card. It's not an artifact. Oh, Cut Propulsion. Cut Propulsion can kill it. As long as they have 6 mana. That's an uncommon, though. I don't think anything else in red can kill it. Oh, you can steal it. You can steal it and throw it at them, but it doesn't have trample. Yeah, I don't think red... So apart from that, red has no way of dealing this card. That's hilarious. Okay, so you gotta hope if you face this card that you're red plus something else that can deal with it, like white or black. Blue doesn't deal with it very well. Certainly not for cheap. I mean, this is a... I mean, I like this card. I think it's an A. Just because it's expensive, I think it's an A and not an A+. But the format could be very slow, and if it's very slow, it definitely becomes an A+. I think it might be slower than... Because I think some people were saying that the loading ready run was pretty slow. Even though it was sealed, if it was really slow, then we probably have a format that's going to be a little slower in draft too. So we'll see. All right. Frenzied Baloth, 2 mana, 3/2, can't be countered. Trample haste. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Commit damage cannot be prevented. This creature has a lot of no on it. Hate bear. Only it's a beast. Now, I haven't seen any cards that prevent combat damage in this set, so that's not meant for limited. Creature spells you control can't be countered is actually relevant because there are counter spells. There are 3 of them. So there is so if we go here, there is Unravel, which is the cancel that gets you a card if you were countering something with warp, right? It was cast for its warp cost or that was discounted in some way. You have Annul, which counters target artifact or enchantment spell, which can be a creature. The artifacts can be creatures, so that would stop that. And you have the Quench, Divert Disaster, which is another counter thing. So this is really good for a green deck. Green definitely wants this. It's probably going to be better and constructed, but it's still good. It doesn't add to your artifact synergies, but it is a 3/2 trample haste. It is a commitment to green with double green early. But the creature spells you control can't be countered is a real thing. It looks like for limited, if you never face a blue deck in League, then that sucks. But it does wear counters and get bigger well. So I think I'm going to give this a B+/A. I think it's straddling the line between those. Perfectly solid playable card, can't be countered, is nice, you know, can wear counters and get bigger, that's nice. It has trample, it has haste, it's sweet. But I don't think it's better than a lot of the rares we have at A. So Ice-Till Explorer, 4 mana, 2/4. You can play an additional land on each of your turns. You can play lands from your graveyard. Whenever land you control enters middle card. Okay. This is more of a constructed card than anything. Because at 4 mana, playing an additional land on each of your turns, right? And milling the cards to put the lands into play and keep tilling through that. That's way more useful as a constructed card. Self-mill is nice for the reanimator decks that we have in this, but there aren't that many reanimator effects, and I'd be really worried about milling myself out with this to some degree, but you can choose whether to play the land or not, and therefore whether to mill yourself or not. But at 4 mana for a 2/4, that's not a great ROI, and at that point, you're not necessarily going to have that many lands. You're going to be putting 2 per turn into play. You're just looking for the lands to get to your bigger, better, faster, stronger spells. I'm not taking this highly. It is a fun card, but it's more constructed than anything. I'm gonna give it a because also there's no Evolving Wilds, no Terramorphic Expanse. If those were existing in this, or like fetches or stuff like that, you might prioritize this a little bit more highly. But I'm gonna give this a C+ or C. Like, it's a fine card. It's not great. I'm worried it's nearly unplayable. I think it's better than some of the commons, but yeah. All right. Loading Zone, 4 mana. If one or more counters would be, it goes into your Gitrog. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a C. Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah. I want to put a plus just because of the landfall synergies. I put a C+ because of landfall synergies in this. This is a reliable way to get lands into play for the landfall synergies, an additional 1 per turn. So I'm straddling the line between C and C+. So Loading Zone, 4 mana. If one or more counters would be put on a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, twice that many of each of those kinds of counters are... Oh, Jesus Christ. So we've got one half of a doubling season here. So this, if an effect will put one or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many counters. This one means Planeswalkers ult instantly, essentially. So that's why this one's, and it also has this other effect. That's why this one's mythic and this one's rare and this one's cheaper. So because this one doesn't do Planeswalkers, you can see it's not just any permanent. It is creature, spacecraft, or planet. But it's still good and limited. So, and probably in constructed too, as far as creatures go. But this is pretty cool for enabling some shenanigans in this set, and I really like this one. Because that enables you to prioritize. I think that is enough to make the space stations far more palatable. Sorry, spacecraft. Far more palatable at 9+, right? If you can just tap a, a 3/3 and a 2/2 and do this, right? That seems great. That seems so much more, then if they bounce it, you're not so devastated by the value that you put into it. It also has warp for 1, which enables the double spelling, and enables the void, etc. And green white has the 1/1 counter synergies. I think as with doubling season, it's a little bit of a risk. You have to build around it, because you really have to make sure that you're putting those +1/+1 counters. Otherwise, it doesn't matter at all. But because we have spacecraft and planets, I'm sure we'll get to the planets at some point soon here. Because we have spacecraft, it actually already has something built in that needs counters. So again, you have to build around it a little, but I think it's pretty sweet. I'm going to go with B+/A on this. Again, super fun card to build around in limited. I think that has a lot of constructive potential, and we'll see where it goes from there. Might Form Harmonizer, 4 mana 4/4 landfall. Whenever land you control doubles the power of target creature you control until end of turn. See, that was why this is probably a C+ as opposed to just a pure C. It just has some synergies with the landfall stuff in this. So yeah, 4 for a 4/4, fine card. Warp 3, also fine. Whenever a land you control enters, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn. That seems like it does cool stuff. Best with tramplers or menacers or other things that are hard to block. Flyers, really nice stuff. So this is probably good and really good in Simic. Probably particularly good in red green in theory. I don't remember any tramplers in red though. I do remember menace though. But yeah, some really nice stuff. Because remember, it doesn't give trample. Like just doubling the power doesn't always do good enough things. But yeah, I like this card. I think it's a B+. /A. I think it's again on that cusp of those decent but not crazy. Although it becomes attacks as an 8/4 the next turn. And if you do have any, okay, maybe it's an A. Yeah, I think it's an A. Okay. Ouroboros, 4 mana, 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X+1/+1 counters on each creature you control with X. Jesus Christ. That is an S tier bomb, I think, in this format. There are so many things with +1/+1 counter synergies, and this is everything you control. If you can curve into this, I think the game's just over. And it's each creatures you control, so this gets a +1/+1 counter itself, and then it's going to double all the things. It's going to double every turn. So this is a 1/3 that immediately on combat becomes a 2/4 and pumps all your other creatures. And then the next turn, if it survives, becomes a 4/6, and everything else got 2 +1/+1 counters each. Okay, yeah, no, this is stupid. This is an S tier bomb. I don't like it. It is easily killed when it first comes out, but dang, they have to do that right away, and it immediately gets value. This is dumb. I'm gonna go S tier on this one. This is so sick. Okay. Moving along, that's definitely going in my +1/+1 for everyone Zegana deck. My +1/+1 counter deck. Just, yeah, gross. Sledge class siege ship. Say that 3 times fast. 3 mana. Okay, so 3 mana flying. When it attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battle. Jeez, okay, all right. I like this one. I think this is an A. No, hold on. It's 7 to do, but whenever attacks, yeah, that's not so bad. And it's 3 mana to, yeah. I'm gonna go with A on this one. It is conceivable that I'm overvaluing it. It might be a B+, but I'm gonna go with A. Terra Symbiosis, 3 mana. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. Do this only once each turn. There's so many things about +1/+1 counters, and this is green-white. It's a green-white card. It's a little bit of a build around. It's draw that. You may draw that many cards. You don't have to mill yourself out. You can just draw that. You can choose to once each turn. I'm gonna go. Oh god, I want to make this an A just because there's so many +1/+1 counter things. But I think it's probably a B+ just because it is that build around. But ooh, that's a sweet one. Space-time anomaly. Deck yourself with a worm, yeah. 2 and Azorius. Target player mills cards equal. What? I hate mill. Just gonna put that out there. And I know that because of the nature of this card, I'm going to face somebody with 3 of them. And I'm going to do it a lot. I'm going to face somebody with 3 of them a lot in this format, and I'm going to be miserable. Because they're going to mill me like 15 cards and then 10 cards, and I'm just going to be dead. Like, if this is a slow format too, we're effed. This is going to be horrid. I don't like it. Make it stop. Basically, you're going to want to collect these as they come around because you'll be the only one in that deck to some degree. Because again, if you just play one of these in your deck, there's a chance that it wins the game. But if 2 of them are in your deck, there's a really good chance that you're winning if you find the second one at all. It's still a C+ for that reason, /C. But like, again, if you get the 2, like, and I think you're going to be able to get the 2. If 2 are opened, you'll probably get them. In theory. I just hope somebody takes them so I don't have to deal with this crap. Like, somebody takes one and then another person takes another and it's like, oh, never everybody. Yeah. It should be anomalous, yes. Ugh, gross. Anyway, Singularity Rupture is 6 mana. Destroy all creatures. There's so many wraths in this. There's the black one that does the X. There's the white one. And then there's this one. Destroy all creatures and any number of target players each mill half their library. Another milk. Oh, no, I don't like this. I want to stop now. I don't want this format anymore. This is too many wraths and too many mill cards all at once. Like, there are 2 mill cards now that are like serious mill cards that are people are going to build around, and I'm gonna have to deal with that crap. And then there's 3 wraths in the format. I don't like that. And then there's mini wraths as well. There's like the like mini wipes. The like there's like a pyroclasm type effect and like a oh god, do not want. Oh god, bands with legends. I see what you're talking about. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Oh god. Anyway, destroy all creatures that any number of target players each mill half. I mean, it's a wrath. If you're in Dimir, you're going to be running this because wraths are key. As I just go back and see what I said about the white card in the first initial thing. The White Wrath. This isn't really a mill card. It just makes it, once you destroy all the creatures, it just makes it harder for them to kill you in the amount of time before they deck themselves. Like, this isn't gonna mill them out usually. It almost never, in fact, on its own. But if they have a few cards left in the library, it decreases the amount of time they have to kill you after building up their board again. So, I mean, take it. It's probably an A. Could be A plus. I mean, if you're in these colors, it depends. Oh, come on. Nope, I hate it. It can be one-sided in various circumstances. I hate, this is another Wrath type effect. Oh, this is awful. At least it's even more of a commitment to colors than this is. This is a game ender though, and it is a good pick if you're like if you think you're going to be in Rakdos, if you want to start off being in Rakdos and try and force it. Definitely a game ender. Getting control of all creatures, right? The remaining creatures that you didn't kill now attack the opponent is going on. I was really excited about this format until now. Until I hit like the third Wrath and then the second mill card. Biotech Specialist, 2 mana, 1/3. When this enters, create a lander token. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent. Yeah, it's a good card. I'm gonna go with B+. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with A because it creates a lander token itself. That's just good on 2 mana, I think. And then it's gonna get the guarantee. It has an outlet to guarantee the 2 damage. But we also have other ways of sacrificing art. I think it's the best shell for it, I think, is in Jund. I don't think you want to do just green-red with this, but it's not as good in that. It's still good, but it's not as good in just the green-red shell. I think the black really would add to the power level of this card. So yeah, I'm going to give that an A. Diadrine or Diadrine, Synthesis Amalgam. X and Selesnya Trample enters the number of +1/+1 counters and equal to the number of mana spent to cast it. Okay, so that's going to be, if this is 4, this will be 6. So it'll be 6 +1/+1 counters on it. When you attack, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control. If you do, draw a card and create that. It scales up, which is nice, and it has the +1/+1 counter synergy, and it's an artifact creature, which has synergy. But you can remove +1/+1 from each of 2 creatures you control. Is a little bit of a mess as far as that. You can build around. I think this is a B+ / A. I think it's more toward the B+ though. This is a powerful effect if you can get it to happen, but oftentimes you're just going to want to keep those counters and keep attacking. So, because it has to be each of 2. You can't just remove one from this and do it. Like, that's, yeah. Yeah, it seems fine, but just not super exciting. Servandum Sunstar Exemplar. We've got Orzhov mana, 2/2 Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Servandum and you gain 1 life. When Servandum dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy it to 1 target non-land permanent. So you need 2 things to die, and then when it dies or is put into exile, you destroy up to 1. That's pretty sweet. I like this card. This one I think is pretty sweet. I think this is an A/B+. But leaning more to the A side, whereas this was leaning more to the B+ side. Seems fun. Pinnacle Emissary, 3 mana, 3/3 for Izzet and 1. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless blah. Oh, gross. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. And the warp, dang. Okay. I'm going to go with A on that. Seems very strong and does what you want to do and has the warp cost itself, and you're really definitely casting a lot of artifacts in those colors. Yeah, it's fine. It is cast, it's not ETB, which is interesting. There's a lot of ETB artifacts as opposed to casting. So like, for example, in the red that we saw, my favorite red card was the Kavu. Probably my favorite card overall is the Kavu. This, not that one. Okay, next one. Terra Pact, Intimidator. This thing is sick. So as you notice, you're not casting these 2 lander tokens. They're just entering the battlefield, which you'd really love to trigger this, but doesn't. So I might be overvaluing this a little bit. But it seems if you just cast an artifact, create a 1/1. Obviously, it can't block things without flying, but that's a free 1/1 for every artifact spell after the. I think this one's an A. Okay, Cosmogoyf. Oh, it's another Lorgoyf! I can put in my Lorgoyf deck! Oh my god! Okay, sorry. Its power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness equal to that number plus 1. Okay, that actually might not go in the Lorgoyf deck. It might not actually be good. Damn it. So, I think this is a constructed card, probably. You are going to have cards in exile via the warp mechanic, but I don't know how good it is in that case, because you're going to be wanting to cast those, get those out of there, and this is just going to get weaker there, and I don't know how many you're going to have, like maybe 2 or 3, so it's a 2/3, like, or a 3/4. Oh, Magic Money, thanks. I appreciate it. Abzan Catchamo Standard, go. Yeah, Death of Spam, exactly. I don't really like this card. I think this is probably a C+, or a C. It might even be completely unplayable. I just don't want to label anything quite like that just yet, unless it's very obviously such. I might be missing something about cards in exile. Like I might be missing, I might have forgotten something in the commons and uncommons that exiles cards or does stuff. Like we had a few things that exile the top card of the library, if you remember, and those might contribute to this as well. But yeah, no, the warp stuff is what I'm talking about as far as exile. So I don't know how long that will sit in exile because you can then play them. So, but the warp is the main thing. There was just a few other things that we've seen that exile like the top card of your library, and those things may stay exiled if you don't play them. They were specifically in red, which is how red draws cards these days. So this one puts things in exile. But this one exiles the top card of your library. For as long as that remains exiled, you can play it if you blah, right? And that's whenever a Kavu enters. And then they were also the Memorial Vault, right? That exiles the top X cards. And so you're not necessarily going to play all of them, like, or the one that you get. So again, those would be an exile. So this does have a few other ways to do it, but you would have to be in Jund again, for it to really take off. Or just have a million warp things that you're not playing out of exile for it to be particularly good, I think. So again, I don't think it's that good at all. All right, Ragost, Deft Gastronaut. It's a prawn. Oh, it's a lobster, sorry. Boros mana 2/2. Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have 2... Oh, that is crazy. I think you guys makes rice. Look at this. This is actually really good with that red card that we saw. That's a really, like, turns them into foods and then you can sacrifice them. It's a sacrifice outlet for the weapons manufacturing. That is a fantastic combo. If you can get that going, that is so good. But mainly this thing is really good in the sacrifice synergy decks because you can sacrifice any artifacts that, you know, as long as you have the 2 mana. And that can trigger the void stuff. So I like this card for that. I think it's a little bit difficult to get going, but one sacrifice of food, blah blah blah. Just through. This is a really fun build around. And obviously you're gonna have tons of artifacts to sacrifice, and it can deal 3 damage to each opponent. Like play 1 and tap, sacrifice a food. It can't do that more than twice a turn because you get to the end step and you can untap it and do it again, for example. But it's like the witch from Throne of Eldraine, Wilds of Eldraine, that could sacrifice foods to deal 3 damage. Gosh, I want to say this is like, it's really fun to build around. I think it's a B+, but you have to build around it, but it's really fun. No, maybe it's just an A. Maybe if you're in Boros, it's just an A because it's just so much value. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go with A. Sammy, Wildcat Captain, 6 mana, 4/4, double strike vigilance. Spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. I don't want this in my Boros deck. It's too expensive. It makes the next spells after you already have 6 mana less expensive. That's not something Boros cares about. If Boros is at all aggressive, you're not going to want a 6 mana 4/4 double strike vigilance that then makes things cheaper after you cast it. You want something that finishes. So you want something at 6 mana that has haste. You want that dragon way more than you want this card. The rare dragon you'd rather way more than a mythic 4/4 for 6. I'm gonna go with B+/B. Probably a B. I just don't know, like, I think you could splash this in a different deck. If this were in Naya, that might be the home for it. But I just don't think it's that good otherwise. And again, it dies to bombard, the 4 damage common spell. So I just don't think that's good. All right. Genomorph Imago. Simic, flying. Whenever a land you control enters, target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, the creature's base power. Okay, that's cool. Okay, again, I think that you can cast an additional land per turn. Insect is still going to be that C+, just because, again, it enables things like this. That's pretty sweet. 1/3 flyer for that. I like this card. So if you play a land, it can attack as a 3/3. Once you have 6 or more lands, it can attack as a 6/6, or something else can attack as a 6/6. Pretty sweet. I like this. I think it's an A. Okay. So I wonder if I put this in my 5-color jank deck. Let's see. Let's find out. So it's Wooburg, legendary artifact spacecraft. When it enters, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each multicolored permanent. You're not running this card. Okay. That's a no. Run this in your constructed decks and have fun. It's definitely going to go in one of my jank 5-color decks. But it's definitely not going in any of my limited decks whatsoever. Yeah, okay. Moving along. Anti-Causal Vestige. 6 mana, Eldrazi, Warp 4. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control for your head. Onto the battlefield tapped. This is an A. I like this card. This card is very strong. It's creepy AF. And it doesn't look like somebody illustrated this so much as did a computer-generated image. I suppose you can still call that illustration. I don't mean to poop on that. I'm just saying this doesn't look like a painting to me. It looks like a computer-generated image. Interesting. He's creepy about a reason. Okay. This seems very strong. At warp 4, you get to draw a card, then you can put a permanent. So you warp at 4 into play, right? At the end of the turn, right, it'll leave the battlefield into exile. And then at first it'll be a 7/5 that can station crew your stations, right? No, sorry. Station your spacecraft. But then it'll leave the battlefield. You get to draw a card. So that's 4 mana. Get a 7/5 briefly. Maybe you can give it haste, maybe you can't. And then if you can't, you can maybe do a station. Who knows? But you draw a card. Then you can put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So you can play a 4/4 for free. A 4 mana cost for free. Tapped creature. Not bad. I like it. And then later on, obviously 6 and 7/5 and blah. Not a bad ROI. So that seems great to me. I like that. Oh no, this freaking card. So this card, I'm going to give it an A. And this card, I'm going to wish it had never been born. That can go in any deck. That's pretty cool, is what you say. That's why it's horrifying. Oh, God. So obviously this is like S tier and constructed. I am of two minds about whether to label it S tier in limited or A+. A 3-mana planeswalker with 4 loyalty that does anything is already really dumb and limited. As long as you have a creature on the board, it can kind of protect itself by untapping that creature and putting up a +1/+1 counter on it. As long as it's an artifact creature. The -3 to search for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle is not a bad thing. I'm assuming there's the original activation will be for the 0. Then you play a couple artifacts. It'll be at 6 or so loyalty. You're gonna get that emblem real fast, unless they have flyers, and you don't. Please tell me Bombard does to planeswalkers too. Nope. Nope. Creature. Creatures. This does 3 damage to any target, potentially. But that's not going to kill Tezzeret as long as they played 1 artifact. I hate it. Thanks. It's probably S tier. I'm gonna go with A+ for now. But it's probably S tier, and the A+ is just wishful thinking. I think I wishfully think that this is an A+. Dawnsire, Sunstar Dreadnought, 5 mana, 20. No. Okay, I don't know how to. Okay, we still established that I don't know how to value spacecraft, and that 10 plus freaks the hell out of me as far as actually getting this activated to become a creature or do this thing. That's a lot of investment in creatures that couldn't block or attack, in theory, although maybe some of them had vigilance and could then station, or maybe some of them were you could untap them and then station. I'm gonna go with A, but it could be an A plus. I just like that effect is very strong, but 10 plus to do it for, and then 5 mana plus 10 plus is, I don't know. Maybe it's just even a B plus. I don't know how to rate these at all. I'm probably like, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. We'll see today with the early access event at 1 p.m. Eastern how it goes. I'm interested in learning. The Dominion bracelet to combo with Pain for All. Yeah, you can target your own creature and then do a 100 damage to your opponent. You can do that. 2 mana legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has 15. Exile the Dominion bracelet. You control target opponent during their next turn. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is this creature's power. Activate only as a sorcery. 1/1. This is a constructed card. But as long as your creature's a 7/7, you can pay 8 to do this. So if you put this on a 6/6 and you pay 7, yeah, I mean, you absolutely could do that. See, the thing is, two for a 1 equipped for +1/+1 is not bad anyway. It's not the best. Obviously, like it's that might have upside. Like, so, short sword, or what is it? Short sword. Yeah, 1 mana for +1/+1 and equip 1, as opposed to 2 mana for +1/+1 and equip 1. So you're losing a little bit of value to gain this potential value later. I think this is a B or B plus, but like I think it could, it could do stuff. And I could be undervaluing it just because, again, this is a very powerful effect, and if you can get it for the 8 mana, you just have to have a very powerful creature in play. So just put it on this 2020, right? Then you're fine. Then it's free. Anyway. Yeah, you need big stuff in play, so why not win that way? It's very interesting. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. I do understand that it does give you some value for creatures coming into play with Summoning Sickness that aren't doing anything that turn and don't need to block, but then aren't you winning anyway if they don't need to block or do anything or hold up your opponent's stuff? I don't know. Anyway, there's just, yeah, I don't know how to do it, to evaluate it yet, but we'll learn more later today. This one, I don't know. This one's probably a B or B plus. Endstone. So this is definitely a constructed card. It's a very good constructed card. It's a 7 mana. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. And at the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total rounded up. So that means, by the way, that if you're at like 3 and you started at 20 life, it goes back up to 10. So, but if you're above 10 and you started at 20 life, it'll go down to 10. So it's a really interesting card. But whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card, in limited is very strong, but it doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play for 7 mana, and that's what worries me. So I'm gonna go with the C on this one. I think it's a gimmick that could be fun to play. It's not absolutely unplayable, but like, I don't think it's good. To not do anything on a 7-drop. If you can cheat it out sooner, then you lose a lot of life and you run a risk of your opponent running over you before you can get the full value. But yeah, it's interesting. I hate Tron players in the room. All right, Eternity Elevator, 5 mana, add 3 colorless. And then you can add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of charge counters on this. And so that'd be like 20 if you can do that. 20 for you to be able to do that. It seems like a more of a constructed card. It seems like a Gilded Lotus for colorless decks that can then produce a metric ton of mana if you can station it. I don't think I like it in limited that much. It'll ramp you into something big, like a 6, so a 7, sorry, an 8 mana spell, so you could maybe hit the 9 for the, for your Bygone Colossus sooner. But it's a rare, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't like this card. In limited, I don't like it. So I'm gonna give it like a D or a C. Again, I think you probably find some edge, cases to play it in on C, but like probably a D for me. Sorry, an F. Sorry. I would be unhappy to run this card, I think. So that's probably a D, and then it's an F from me because I don't want to actually play it at all. All right, Extinguisher Battleship, 8 mana. When it enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Then the spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. Another mass removal spell? Like, what? It crews for very little to be a 5, so a 10/10 flying trample. That's like 5+ is pretty easy to do, but 8 mana and then kill a lot of things. So you're like assuming you still have things left that are big to or at all that can station it. There's too many wraths and too many things that do damage to everything. I don't like this format so far. It feels like you're gonna build a really synergistic deck. You're gonna get all of the pieces going. Opponent's gonna wipe the board. Your opponent's gonna put some cool synergistic pieces on the board. You're gonna wipe the board. Nobody's gonna be having any fun. Like, meh. This will be very good against certain decks and against certain like other decks, like red green. I think has a bunch of 5 toughness things, so you can destroy one thing that has above 5 toughness, and then as long as the others don't, then that's fine. It's a wrath effect at 8. I don't know how fast this. It depends on how fast the format is, and then if you can rebuild. If you know you're building up to this and you have time to build up this and you don't die beforehand, then you can play this on 8 and then have a couple creatures still in hand to maybe crew and then attack for 5, a 10/10 flying trample. I don't know. I want to rate it lowly just because I don't like what it does. It is 8 mana. I'm gonna go with B. I think it's perfectly playable as a wrath type effect, but it's 8 mana and yeah. Okay. Thrumming Hive Pool. Slivers. 6 mana, affinity for slivers. So for every sliver you control, It costs 1 less to cast. I haven't seen any slivers or changelings in this set so far. So there is that. I suppose basically you get a 6 mana thing that poops out 2 1/1 colorless sliver creature tokens on your next upkeep that have double strike and haste. And so if this gets put back in your hand, you could then cast it for less because you then have slivers, I guess. I don't like that it is 6 mana and doesn't do anything in that turn, because this is the beginning of your upkeep, so it's not going to get any value until the next turn. And there's so much shatter in this. There's so much like artifact destruction in this for 2 mana or 3 mana that this doesn't seem worth it to me. I'm gonna give this a C. I think you can try and make it work, but like I'm gonna give this a C. Are they artifact slivers? No. Okay. They're just slivers. Adagia, Windswept Bastion. Oh, it's a planet. Here we get a planet. Okay. So this is what a planet is. Let's take a look. So the land enters tapped. You add white. You can station a planet. Okay. So it's like a spacecraft, but it's just a planet. So it also adds mana. Like, okay. But it doesn't become a creature in this case. So at 12 plus, you can pay 4 mana, including a white. Tap it, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. I mean, it's a way to get value out of the land slot. And it's definitely, I mean, there were like a few things that were, that got value for having differently named lands. So, I mean, you can pick these up as just maybe value, as far as they might be something you could all on one turn do something with, as far as tapping creatures to make it, I mean, 12, yeah. So, or you could just take it to add to the synergies of All Fate Scroll or the green card that we saw, that cares about different differently named lands. Like this one too. I think there's a green one, there's the one I just showed, and the Survey Mech, and that care about differently named lands. I do not know how to value planets then also. Breeding Pool. The Shocks are in this? Are they in the main set? Oh god, that's pretty art. Pay green and tap, and then Gaia's Cradle. But again, for 12 plus. I think these are more constructed than anything in like slower formats like Commander. But they're like, if you get a free one late in the draft, then you'll take it just because it's a differently named land that might help you with those synergies, but also it might be value late game. Who knows? I don't know. They're not like, I'm gonna take them super, super, super lowly on the pick order. Godless Shrine, Haveron, 12 plus. Yeah, this one seems like it could have real use in limited, definitely. But you'd have to have that 12. This one, once you have the 12 to do this, what are you doing creating, you know, green for each creature you control, unless you're like burning them out with a green spell, an X spell, or red, but we don't even have those. Oh, we do have the like XX copy spell in red, but this is a token copy. That's fine. There was just 12. Ugh. So far, I like in limited the white and the red best. The green doesn't seem to be as good in limited. Secluded Starforge. Tap X2 and tap X untapped artifacts you control. Target creatures plus X plus O until end of turn. And then you can pay 5 and tap and create. Oh, that's useful. This one's useful. Okay. This one is a B plus. This one's a good, useful land that gets value. I mean, we might even... Yeah, no, I think B plus is where I want that. That's a nice one. Stomping Ground. Susur Secundi. Void Altar. Yeah, I mean... You can pay the 12. I don't know. I don't know how to value it. Okay. Uthros, Titanic God Core. Becomes a Tolarian Academy for a blue and tap instead of just tap, obviously. Looks like you can tap green for Gaia's Cradle and blue for that. Okay. This is going to cause some hullabaloo and constructed, isn't it? Interesting. Wait, is this the main set? Or this only the book? Does it... Are these draftable? Are these draftable? Please tell me these aren't draftable. This is in draft. The Ancient Tomb is in draft. This card should never be playable unlimited. Oh god. The 12 plus is basically, it's explained here, it's the station cost. So whatever's next to the gray number here is something that only gets activated once you've hit those 12 plus counters. You put the counters on them, right, by tapping a creature you control as a source at sorcery speed. So if I tap a 5/5 creature that I control, I put 5 counters on this at sorcery speed. I can't do it at instant speed at the end of their opponent's turn. I have to do it at sorcery speed. So then it has 5 counters on it. And when it has 12 or more counters on it, it has this ability. Oh, but I'm so sad that you can actually play with Ancient Tomb. That's just so unfair. In limited. Blast Zone, fine. That can be in limited. It's a fine card. That's not like... It's been in limited before and not broken limited. This is freaking stupid. It's like, you might as well just Soul Ring. Yes, you can station with a summoning sick creature. That's the main reason you would be doing this, is with a summoning sick creature to get value out of that creature. It means the creature won't be able to block, so it's an interesting trade-off. But the ability comes from this, right? This land has the ability to tap another creature you control. So the creature that's tapping down isn't doing so of its own volition. So that's not about the summoning sickness. It's about this using its ability. Oh god. So Blast Zone's fine. This is not fine. Ancient Tomb should not be unlimited. Blinkmoth Nexus is a sweet card. That's fine in limited these days. Bonder's Enclave. Draw a card if you control a creature. That's going to be best in the green decks and some of the red decks. Cascading Cataracts, not going to be good. Beautiful. Beautiful, but not going to be good in this format. It can fix your mana as long as you're paying five mana for something. So I mean, there actually are fringe cases where this would be playable. Cathedral of War, Exalted. That's fine to have in limited. Celestial Colonnade is less fine. That card's stupid. Contested War Zone. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, that creature's controller gains control of this land. No, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to play that in my limited format. You get 1 use out of it to give attacking creatures +1/+0. Then they have to damage you to get it back. Oh, that's fascinating. Creeping Tar Pit also should not be unlimited again. It's probably okay these days. It's still just misery because you can't remove it with like anything but instant speed removal. And yeah, I don't really want to see it in my limited, but okay. Crystal Quarry, same thing as Cascading Cataracts. Again, if you absolutely need to fix your mana for 5 mana, you can do it. These do make the 5-drop playable, but the 5-drop is only playable again if you have multiple multicolored spells, which is another problem. Deserted Temple is not going to be crazy in this. That's fine. Dust Bowl, that's probably also fine. All of these are all in colorless, so we're less, worried about them for the most part, except for the 2 colorless from Ancient Tomb. Echoing Deeps. What? Are you all seeing this? You may have this land enter tapped as a copy of any land. I assume that says card in a graveyard, except it's a blank in addition to its other types. I assume that says cave, because I know this card. How is a newer player supposed to know what this card does? Except it's a mystery in addition to its other types. Who thought this design was good? Like, I love the artwork, but you don't need to put it over the text. This is a game piece. People need to be able to read to see what it does. It's a mystery. It's an enigma. It wins the game in addition to its other types. I don't know. Like, what the... Anyway, that seems to be a huge mistake, and I can't really believe what I'm looking at. I've never seen them cover up text to that degree before, where it covers up an entire word, and in this case, 2 words. This is... I don't know. Like, I've seen them, I mean, textless cards are like, so... Do they show us the textless version of this? Yes, they do. So this is the textless version of Cryptic Command. And this was printed as a joke, because Cryptic Command had so much text on it, literally here, right? Choose 2, counter target spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control and draw a card, right? It was a joke that it was printed textless because there was so much text from it, right? So this is the closest thing I can think of right now is that, but this was a joke amongst the in crowd. It was the people who already knew what Cryptic Command did and were playing it all the time, and, so on and so forth. This is a newer player, supposed to be friendly, like pretty, special card. And yet, you can't read it if you don't know what it already does. Or if you don't sort of know Magic, right? Where you're like, okay, of any land, it's got to be card here in a graveyard. It doesn't know tokens, blah, 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 except this looks like a C, right? So cave, right? Like, this is wonky. Eldrazi Temple, yeah, okay, sure. There's only one Eldrazi that we've seen. That's not going to break the format. Endless Sands. This one could do work. This was good in limited, and when it happened, and it was a good choice to make and interesting stuff. So I like that one. In being in limited, it's fine. Yeah, they were all memorable cards. Yes, exactly. But the joke, the thing is, everything else was memorable. Cryptic Command, people still had to look up because there were so many things that it could do, and just had to double check. Gemstone Caverns is fine. Okay. Grove of the Burn Willows, fine. High Market, fine. Quagmire, fine. Then that's not as bad as the unblockable one. That's a Inkmoth Nexus. That's adorable. If you can put +1/+1 counters on your Inkmoth Nexus and poison somebody to death, that'd be adorable. I love it. Inventor's Fair, fine. Lava Claw Reacher is also fine. Lotus Field reprint. Okay. Thundering Fall, Lumbering Falls also okay. Mana Confluence in reprint. That's cool. See, this is fine. These little spaceships, they're not causing you not to be able to read the card in any way. I like the fact that they're sort of making the whole card into, you know, the whole of space and really sort of drawing the viewer in. That's completely different from that other card, which is covering up two whole words. Meh. Meteor Crater. Fine. Gorgeous artwork. Jesus. That's purdy. Mirror Pool, sure. That thing can do stuffs. And actually, this takes good advantage of all the colorless land production, mana production, rather, to copy a token, and this is pretty sweet. All right. Mutavolt's a good card. Okay, so here's a changeling. This is actually a sliver. We found a sliver, everybody! We found a sliver! Sorry. So if you activate this to become a sliver, then your sliver 6 mana sliver artifact thing might actually be playable. But you'd have to get them both at the same time. Mystifying Maze. That can be very useful and limited. That's fine. Needle Spires is fine. Nesting Grounds is fun. That's fine. Petrified Fields, sure. Plaza of Heroes reprint. That's a necessary one. Decent card in constructed. Less, you know, important in limited. Look at the faces in all of the, like, the stone. Fascinating. That's that truly Plaza of Heroes. Apparently these are the heroes of the past. Power Depot. Cast artifacts, blah, blah. That one's going to be quite useful in this format with a modular. Oh, wait, when it dies. Are you sacrificing the land? Do we have any sacrifice lands effects? I don't think so. Never mind. This is less me. Raging Ravine. Yep, that's a good card. Reflecting Pool. Sure. Scavenger Grounds. This is the card that we were talking about, like, that I was really excited to see in the uncommons, I think it was. Exile all opponent graveyards, right? This is the card that decks that don't have access to Vajuka Bog or other graveyard hate run in order to be able to combat the graveyard recursion and other, like, synergy decks from the graveyard. So this is a pretty sweet one as a reprint, but it was also just really nice to see the colorless artifact the 3 mana colorless artifact in the commons on commons that did the same thing. Shambling Vent. Yep. Okay. Wildwood. So they did all the manlands, the original manlands. Okay. Strip Mine. If I get strip mined with Ice Till Explorer, if I get strip mined, period, but if they keep recurring it with Ice Till Explorer, I do believe I will throw a shit fit. And that won't just be like any shit fit. That will be a shit fit of epic proportions. I wish I could just ban some cards from my limited format. Like, just like, nope, you're not allowed to play with these. No Ancient Tomb and no Strip Mine for you. Deal with it. You can have all these other cool cards that actually allow people to play the game. God. Okay, don't care. That's fine. Swarmyard. Swarmyard reprint. Nice. Okay. We've got a lot of insects in this. This is actually quite useful. A little broken in this, actually. We've got so many insects. Not that many rats, spiders, or squirrels, but definitely a ton of insects. So there is that. Actually, I'm not as big a fan of the art on this one as I normally am on the others. That can be fun for the landfall sit-off. Okay, that's fine. Thespian Stage, always a nice reprint. Fumarole, another of the things. Is this also part of the, like, actual draftable set? It doesn't look like it. This is a special guest. Oh, shit. It's a special guest. So it probably is draftable. Okay, that one's kind of whatever. All right. Make something slightly unkillable. No, you didn't print Nexus of Fate again. You didn't. No, not in my limited format. I hate it. Nope. Nope. Don't care. Oh, they reprinted Darkness! I love it! Okay, Darkness I love. It's the original Black Fog. It's great. No. Actually, that's okay. We don't run that many non-basics in this. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, Nexus of Fate is not allowed back. Such a mistake of a card. Okay, Burgeoning needed a reprint. This is not as good in limited as it is in constructed. It can lead to broken stuff, but like it's much rarer. Green Sun Zenith reprints. Now that was unbanned. Crazy card. Sliver. I found another sliver. Okay. I found another sliver. All right. Warping Whale. Okay. Less concerned about that. Okay, now this is Commander, right? This is all Commander. Okay, I don't have to work. Okay, so all right, well. I gotta say, I was very excited about this set until I saw a few of the final cards that were multicolored. I think it's fine for white to have a sweeper, and it's fine to have for black to have a sweeper, but then like every other color now has a sweeper, and some of them have smaller sweepers, some of them have larger sweepers, but like they all have sweepers, and the double colors also have sweepers, multiples of them, 3 of them or so, like that. It's just... And now that we have Nexus of Fate for an extra turn, we have Ancient Tomb for bonkers stupidity, and we have Strip Mine, which is just going to make so many games so miserable because they're going to kill your one source of your second color, and you're just going to be like, well, I can't play anything cool. that said, I'm still looking forward to trying it out. I always love trying new sets. So we are going to do that at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to sleep until then, and it's going to be wonderful. And I'm going to try and stream for as long as possible, as we usually do. We sometimes we, I think the last time we only went for 15 hours, but we usually went for more than that previously. I might not be able to go that long this time. We'll see. I do have a student, so we'll see. So, you're gonna, face it with 3 space time anomalies. I don't want to deal with that mill. Like, I was so excited until I saw some of those cards at the end. I was so excited until that, and then and the problem is that they're just rares. Most of the ones that we're really not excited to see, they're just rares. And they're gonna show up quite a bit because play boosters and also league. So, ew. But we get to have fun with no pressure today because, again, thanks to Wizards, we have these cool tokens that allow us to play on our account with the new cards. Phantom, we don't get to keep the cards, but it's really sweet thanks to Wizards. And we'll be doing that at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you missed any of the review of the commons and uncommons and want to see that for yourself before you do your pre-releases or before you watch the streamer events, here's the YouTube link. The VOD for the commons and uncommons will be up there, and this VOD, of course, is up there too. They're always free. If you like it, consider subscribing. It helps out the channel. It's super sweet. I can make more videos with my editors. Certified is one of them. He's dropped in earlier. Really nice to see him. And Casual Suspect is the other one. So yes, and more content on the way for the YouTube stuff there. Obviously, we have the VODs, we have the edited drafts, we have the box openings, and so on and so forth. Hopefully our Final Fantasy boxes will come in soon that we won on the Arena Direct. We have won 2 boxes. And I'm just hoping to get an email actually today or yesterday. They said they were going to send them out, I think today. So we should be able to, see that they're coming at some point soon. So yeah, that would be sweet to open those. And I do have some Edge of Eternities product coming to open. So our usual collector booster box for the YouTube channel, and maybe a pre-release kit. Super sweet to open, I think. I ordered one of those, I think. I'm not certain. I think I did. So we can build a sealed deck together, and that'll be fun. So for now, let's go raid somebody, because I'm absolutely losing my voice completely, and I'm so sorry if that contributed to was a problem for anybody. I'm so sorry. You can hear it. I'm so sorry. So I'll get good rest. My voice will recover, and we'll go from there for the beautiful early access stream. We can raid Dirt Nymph. That'll be super sweet. So let's raid Dirt Nymph, who is doing drafts. You get to see Final Fantasy drafts. It looks like she has Vivi. She has Vivi! Oh my goodness. So any of the Final Fantasy people out there, I think the one person who came in who was like, I'm a real big Final Fantasy and just learning magic, is no longer here, unfortunately. But it looks like Dirt Nymph has Vivi, and we gotta watch this. So give all the early access is 1 p.m. Eastern later on today. So that's roughly 10 and a half hours from now. Something like that. So yeah. All right. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for this first look. I am really excited still to play this deck. The set. I'm really worried about some of those cards making it a less fun format. That's so many wraths and so many board wipes. And sometimes one-sided, and I just that can be the preponderance of those in a format can really shift the format from enjoyable to a feel bad, where it's just like, oh well, I played for a little while and then no. So anyway, I hope you have the most wonderful morning, noon, night, afternoon tea, second breakfast, whatever time it is for you. I cannot wait to see you for the early access event. Remember, all your other favorite streamers will be also on, so I will not be offended if you go there. So anyway, love you all. Check out the sponsors if you get the chance. Rating now. Mwah! Here we go.